Hey guys, as promised, we're going to be diving into the fourth part of the Macedonian campaign walkthrough, again brought to you by Jack Lust. This is going to be a bunch of stuff. So we kickstart in 235 BC, where we're looking at this blackmail thing where it says one of your family members is being blackmailed and you have to do something about it. So you can either do nothing and take a hit to your gravitas, or you can counter the rumors with minus 900 from your treasury. So Jack in this case decides to basically take a hit in his pocket in order to counter the rumors and avoid a decrease in gravitas. So I like how there are these small mini missions they have to do, always trying to keep your inherent political stability upright and keep it from being smudged by all these different events, random or not, or if they're coming about by different actions from enemy agents or even within your own faction. Next, he says he's back in Sicily and the Carthaginians are beginning to fight back at Lilybaeum. So he's attempting to move an army from Carthage to destroy this attacking force. However, there's a problem with the plan because there's a Libyan fleet that's actually trying to retake Carthago. So he's going to have problems here, and he decides to wait for the next turn to move. Next, in 234, a noble death. One of his generals back in Macedonia has died. It seems like it's a natural death. And I love the images they have here, even though it's probably not animated. Like a full video sequence, it definitely looks very, very cool, very, very realistic. Next, he says back on the war front, he's essentially made his decision. He's going to move his troops from Carthage all the way out to Lilybaeum in order to secure that. And what he does is he's going to now try and recruit a new army in Carthage and has basically just a lone general to fend for himself. However, if you do look at this next image here, he has reinforcements numbering 1,240. So I'm not sure if those are coming from troops within the city or if they're neighboring forces, but as you can see here, he's fighting off an enemy that has more in number than him, and he says he believes victory is unlikely. However, as you can see in the next image, it's a Pyrrhic victory. He actually pulls off a win in this case, and he says it was due to a well-timed charge from his companion cavalry led by his general that was able to rout a large chunk of the enemy, and then he also was able to thereafter kill the Carthaginian general and basically close off his or capitalize on his initial charge and break the will of the Carthaginians. So Pyrrhic victory here. You can see kind of what happened with the two forces there, and then at the end you have the three choices: the olive branch at the end, which is releasing them. Then in the middle, you can make them prisoners, which is essentially using them as slaves, and you distribute them and it increases your economy. And then the last one on the right, the dagger, is going to be to kill them. So in this case, he shows just how close he came to losing. And basically he says the remaining forces retreat to Carthage, or the remaining forces of the enemy retreat, and he is safe in Carthage. 233 BC, he says he gets bad news from the Oracle. There are ill omens, and you have to do something about that. So I think it's really cool how I have to deal with these omen things and these plagues and different natural events that happen. I know we've seen plagues before, but you've never really had to deal with omens and how the population thinks of the gods. So here you can do a sacrifice. You can cast out different things, or you can do nothing, and so you can kind of choose to deal with it in various ways. In this case, Jack has decided to sacrifice a white sheep, and we'll see, if that does actually have the effect of dispersing the bad omen. Anyways, back in where are we here? He says in Carthage he basically adds to his forces by recruiting additional pikemen, but at Lilybaeum he has now finally deployed his reinforcements coming from Carthage, and they're able to easily fend off the besieging Carthaginians. At this point, Jack decides to state that although most of these battles seem like they're small scale and they have been kind of pushover battles with the exception of a couple, he says that that's mostly because he's been fighting weakened nations, but in these couple of images here, he's been showing basically larger fleets and armies around the campaign map of stronger nations that he's going to fight later. So you can see here, some of the other factions will definitely not be pushovers, and they definitely have some large armies all around the campaign map that he'll have to deal with later in further expansion. At the start of the next term, 232 BC, it turns out his omens have actually only angered the gods, and the bad omen now is in full effect, so the gods were not happy with his sheep. And in response, Jack types out, "Stupid gods not liking my sacrifice." So you have to be pretty careful with what you do. A bad omen, I'm guessing, will decrease morale and population happiness. Next, he gets a message that says a faction rises, so this just shows that some factions can be defeated, and then I think they can rise again. I'm not quite sure what the terms of that happening are. Perhaps if there's rebels in an area and the rebels win and they can reestablish a past faction, they can emerge that way. Or I think if you are an attacking faction and you take over a place from an enemy, you can actually choose to liberate it and it will revert to its native population. Next, he's talking about Pella, how Pella gets struck by a natural disaster. Now, I think this is very important what he notes about this. He tells us that buildings are damaged and you can choose to repair them, even though it's very expensive, or actually buildings will get slowly repaired over time, so you can kind of play for time. Also, something new he says is that when buildings are destroyed, or damaged at least, you don't lose all of their abilities, you actually just lose part of their bonuses. So you're not going to be totally knocked out of the fight when a building is damaged, it just loses most of its benefits. So you're not totally crippled. 231 BC, the war continues at Syracuse and Rome attacks the Libyan and Carthaginian fleets. He decides to set Caralis at war as a war target in the hopes that one of his allies will take it. So this is one of the things where you can order or recommend that your allies go somewhere. Next is going to be a new intrigue within Macedon. So he says a lust for life is one of the things that's right here. His population has become too lustful and hedonistic, so you can do sanctions or you can try and do a sacrifice or do nothing. And again, you have to once more deal with these various events that are happening throughout your population. And take a look at the left at all your various units. You can see the Antagonid dynasty is 45%. That's how much I think they are... 45% is how much of the balance of power they have. You can see other families has 55. And then you can also see some of his units, some of his generals are wounded and stuff like that. That's when there is an enemy action that can put them out of action, but they will come back. In the meantime, he says he decides to sacrifice in the hopes of getting a positive outcome, and in this case the gods are favorable to the sacrifice, and he gets +3 population growth and then +10% wealth from agriculture and livestock building. So he says, nice, it worked. Next, he shows off a little bit of his trade. He shows how all the resources he's been gathering do help a lot, and he has a lot of income from the trade he does, especially I'm guessing from the mines he built earlier. You can see 1,200 basically is what he's exporting, or in net income I should say, whereas the other factions along this trade route are not having nearly as much. Next, he goes back and shows us some of his population happiness. You can see some of the stats here, and he says, yeah, they're doing well. A little bit of corruption, but overall the culture is 100%. Security is doing well. Public happiness is definitely very high up there. Then he shows his army that's moving along the coast of North Africa, moving on Thapsus, and they're going to be attacking the Numidians, or the Libyans, that are stationed there, and he's going to take them out very easily. But in the meantime, you can see that there's a final city here of the Libyans, the last settlements, but it's actually under threat from another faction here in yellow, the Nasamones. And actually, what's really interesting is this is a minor faction that has gone and become very powerful in the region, and these people have actually decided to take over the former mantle of what was Egypt, and Egypt is really down on the ground. I think they end up getting destroyed in this campaign, or at least mostly taken over by the small faction. So it just goes to show that the main historical factions are not guaranteed to rise up and continue. They might be overthrown by other factions. Then he says he's completed the research of naval maneuvers, and in 227 BC, there's a new image. He says, a happy sight. The Spartans have responded to his request for an attack on Caralis. And you can see here the Spartans, his ally, have actually effectively sent an army and done what he asked them to do. So that's very cool. Very nice to see the allies respond to you in that way. Next he says Carthage Nova, or Carthago Nova, however, is growing quite powerful. So even though Carthage itself on North Africa is crumbling, New Carthage, which was founded in Spain, is actually doing very well for itself. And it comes back, and you can see in this image, and attacks Lilybaeum. But Jack is able to narrowly hold them off, he says, in a battle. Next, in 226, there are more New Carthage fleets moving around, small armies here and there. And then he says the big army in Thapsus that he has moves back to Carthage in order to protect it. And he kind of shifts his forces for domestic protection. Then next is Hellenization, where you can see him researching this. I like some of the things it says here. The description for this is, other than the insane or the stupid, who would not want to be Greek? So as a Macedonian, this is one of the actually military things that you can have. So that was pretty interesting, I thought. So yeah, you upgrade this and it allows you to have hoplite barracks and have more -5 agent recruitment costs, -3 recruitment costs for all units. So, you know, that's one of the things. We've seen the Roman tech trees, but now we get to see Macedonian tech trees. All factions will have individualized tech trees. New Carthage attacks Lilybaeum again, as expected, although now it's been reinforced, and Jack has a better time defending it more successfully. The next image here, 224 BC, a faction has been destroyed. It's Carthage, and he says Rome has actually dealt the final blow. And he says at this point, he talks about something that we haven't heard about before, which is very interesting, that there are a series of objectives you can have in the game that kind of progressively move you along. So this is the sort of the second tier of objectives, and you can see here the objective is to maintain 60 units in total, and then you have bonus objectives within this, and once you reach it, you will get a reward. So here, treasury plus 8,500, that's very, very substantial. You can purchase yourself a nice army with that. And of course, if you get the bonus objectives, you get more stuff. Once this is unlocked, you get the next level. So the next objective here is going to be, the objective is to control 25 settlements, either by direct ownership or through client states and military allies. If you get this, you get 11,000 added to your treasury. And some of the side objectives here, you can see the first one is to control 2 specific provinces, Asia and Cilicia. Then the next one is going to be to maintain a total of 5 units of the following type, either Sarissa cavalry, Thessalian cavalry, or companion cavalry. And it says Jack already has 9 of these, so he's good to go. And the last one is going to be the Macedonian Wars, be at war with the following faction, Rome. So it's kind of pushing you towards historically accurate events. I'm trying to get you to fight with the other large powers in the area and trying to see if they can urge you on for a reward of $3,000 and trying to get you out of your comfort zone and try and expand. So I think that's really cool. Again, it's optional, but it definitely helps you in terms of steering you, and you get a reward of a good amount of money. Next, we take a look at the whole campaign map. Jack essentially has unlocked it using some dev trickery, and you can see kind of what's been going on. It's very cool to see where everything lies. You can see Egypt has been pretty much knocked out and replaced by that lesser state. You can see New Carthage in southern Spain has spread out. Rome is still secluded to Italy, and then Sparta has its own territory. Look at the north, you can see the various tribal factions, and you can start seeing some larger areas accumulating and becoming stronger. So the Seleucids on the coast seem to be doing very well, as well as Parthia off on the east. So that's really cool. I'd like to thank Jack for everything he's done. This has been very cool to follow, and that's going to be it for the campaign. Yeah, I can't wait to play the game. I intend to do a let's play of the prologue campaign, and then at the same time be playing multiplayer and trying out the various factions, just so I get a taste of who they are, and after that I'll make a choice of who my main faction is that I'm going to do a let's play of. I'm kind of leaning towards the Swaby, but we'll see. Anyways, thanks so much for all your help. I will see you guys next time. Peace out.